Sometimes pain attempts are a roadblock on your journey through life. And one way to get back on track to your destiny is to equip yourself with the lion to overcome that roadblock.
I would like to introduce Dr. Al Marcello to the program. Dr. Marcello is the founder of the Marcello Integrative Medical Clinic in El Paso, Texas. Can you break down the numbers between synthetic opioids such as fentanyl and chemicals such as meth?
So in 2020, 56,516 people died from synthetic substances, mostly fentanyl. 23,837 people died from methamphetamine use in this country. So the numbers, when you crunch them, you can see, and especially for me, the most important part of it is looking at the numbers through time. So when you start from 1999 right up to 2020, you can see that there's been just an unconscionable number of deaths. I can't believe that it took this long for us to recognize or to address this problem with a full force, all hands on deck approach to stop the suffering.
What are the fatalities from just prescription opioids?
In 1999, there were less than 4,000 people who died from prescription opioids. By 2020, there were 16,406 people who died from prescription opioid overdose. Again, those increases are unconscionable.
What about heroin deaths?
If you take heroin, again, I like to project these numbers over time. In 1999, there was 1,960 people who died from heroin overdose. By 2020, Danny, there was 13,165. That is almost 12 times as many over a 20-year period.
What about overdose from psychostimulants with abuse potential, such as meth?
Yeah, so usually we refer to those as meth. If you look at 1999, there were 547 people who died from meth overdose. By 2020, there were 23,837. I will repeat that number in 2020. 23,837 people passed away. What are we doing as a country?
What about overdose death involving cocaine?
So if you look at 1999, there were about 4,000 people who died from cocaine overdose. By 2020, there were 19,447 people then that died from cocaine overdose.
What about overdose from benzodiazepines?
Okay, so benzodiazepines, the one that's most common that people can recognize is Xanax. So these are muscle relaxants that work centrally in the brain. People can become addicted to them. And we saw an increase since 1999 in deaths from benzodiazepine overdose as well. In 1999, there was 1,135 people who died from benzodiazepine overdose. By 2020, that number was 12,290.
Antidepressants can be overdosed as well, and many people have not considered this class of medication to have abuse potential, but they do. What are the numbers for overdose deaths from antidepressants?
So in 1999, there was 1,749 people who passed away from antidepressant overdose. By 2020, that number was 5,597 people. So again, that's a big problem. People rarely think of overdose from antidepressants, but it can happen. Definitely not as common as overdose from opioid use and meth, but it can still be problematic. And that's why these drugs are regulated, and you need a prescription to get on one of these antidepressant medications, and they can be very effective. We'll talk about antidepressants' role in pain relief management down the road.
For the sake of someone who got an injury more than 48 hours ago and who's experiencing mild to moderate pain, what can they do other than taking medication to relieve their pain right now?
Okay, since it's been over 48 hours, the best approach is a heat pack. There's always a confusion between cold pack and heat pack when it's the right time. You want to use the cold pack within the first 48 hours. After 48 hours, the best approach is a heat pack. You can purchase one of those at any pharmacy. The goal, though, is to try to use as many modalities without using medications as possible before you graduate to medication as necessary.
Sometimes pain attempts a roadblock on your journey through life, and one way to get back on track to your destiny is to equip yourself with the lion to overcome that roadblock.